everyone, I'm Anshika and today we are here on this channel with another video with the question power of 2, and it is also the question number 231 on Leetcode. First of all, we'll be understanding what the question asks for, then we'll be looking onto the possible solution. After that, we'll be coming back to our Leetcode platform and solving this problem. So let's begin by looking at the question first. We have given an integer n and we have to return true from a function if it is a power of 2, that is if n that is given is a power of 2, and otherwise we have to return false. Then an integer n is a power of 2 if there exists an integer x such that we are given this condition that if 2 raised to the power x gives n. Okay, so by now you'll be clear that what the question asks, and the first example is that if n is 1, then we have to return true because obviously 1 can be represented as the 0th power of 2. The example 2 says that if n is 16, for example, and it is also a power of 2, and the output should be true because we all know that 16 can be represented as 2 raised to the power 4. And also if we are given n is equals to 3 in the last example, then the output should be false because obviously 3 cannot be represented in any power of 2. So now let's understand it in a better way on how to form the code. So first of all, we are given with an integer that is n, and n will be given to us wherein n should be such that it can be raised to the power of 2 for x to be any integer value. So the first and foremost thing can be that we know 2 raised to the power 0 is 1, and so we can say that if the value of n is 1, then we have to return true as it can be represented in a power of 2. If we have given any odd value of n, so we have to return false because obviously there cannot be any odd number that can be represented as a power of 2. So yeah, for that also we have to return false. And for one more case we have to return true only, is that we have to return false for one more case wherein any number that is not divisible by 2. Not divisible by 2 completely, then also we have to return false from our function. So we have figured out the base cases of the solution that we are looking for. Now apart from this, let's come out of this and understand that if we have a tall, for example, this is my tall, and suppose this is 16, and I know that if 16 is divisible by 2, then its half should also, that is 8, be also divisible by 2, and then half of 8, that is 4, should also be divisible by 2, and so on and so forth. All the numbers that are divisible by 2 and they go on being divided by 2 should return eventually 1, so that the value of n becomes 1, and that will be true. Okay, so now what we are supposed to do is, first we are going to solve a smaller problem and then we are going to assume that that problem will automatically solve itself and so on. So first and foremost we'll solve it for n, and then we'll assume that it is already divisible by n by 2. That is, if n is divisible by 2, then n by 2 is also divisible by 2, and so on and so forth. So let's form a basic pseudocode. We are going to use the property of recursion or the concept of recursion in this question. Now, as on the platform, we are given the function that is of Boolean return type is power of 2, and it has our integer n that will be given to us. So the basic base case is going to be if n is equal to 1, then in that matter we have to return true, because 2 to the power 0 can be represented as 1, like it is 1. The second base case is that if n is 0, because we know that 0 cannot be any power of 2. Hence, in that case, or if our number n is not divisible by 2, then in that case also we are going to return false. Both of these cases are going to give us the false value. So these two are the base cases, and apart from this, we're just going to assume that this is going to be true for n by 2 as well. So we're again going to call this function is power of 2 for n by 2 and check whether both the conditions are true or not, and then it will return its value to this function, and this value is going to return what is true for n. Now, I'm hoping that you will understand this, and let's go towards our Leetcode platform on solving this. So first we'll begin by drawing our base case, that is n is equals to 1. In that case, we have to return true because our n is going to come to 1 after it is divided by 2 and so on. So it has to return true for n is equals to 1. Then we come to n is equals to 0, or if the number is odd, that is if it is not divisible by 2, not equals to sign, and here let me give some space. Alright, and here it has to return false. After this, we're going to assume that our function is going to give us the answer of when n is divided by 2 to us. Now let's run this. As you can see, we have passed all the test cases, 16 and 3. Okay, now let's submit it. So yeah, we have completed this question as well. Now looking forward to our next question. Thank you so much.